If you're receiving NZA Super, renting in the private market, paying a mortgage, or simply trying to manage your housing costs on a fixed income, the announcement I'm covering today could put more money in your pocket starting next year. The New Zealand government has officially confirmed that accommodation supplement maximum rates will increase across every area of the country. And there are some critical details you need to understand before April 2027 arrives, because not everyone will automatically benefit, and there are some real pitfalls that could catch you off guard. I'm David, and you're watching New Zealand Pension Plan, the channel where we break down NZ Super, government support programs, and important updates that could affect your finances, so you can make informed decisions and make sure you're receiving every entitlement you may qualify for. Today, we are going deep on the Budget 2026 Accommodation Supplement announcement. I'm going to give you the confirmed numbers, the critical dates, the eligibility rules you need to know, and I'm going to debunk some of the misleading claims that are already circulating online about this update. There is a lot of confusion out there, and by the end of this video, you will know exactly what has been confirmed, what it means for your situation, and what action you may need to take. Stay with me, because there is one eligibility detail coming up a little later in this video that surprises a lot of NZ Super recipients, and it could make a significant difference to whether you benefit from these changes or miss out entirely. Let's start with the big picture. Budget 2026 was delivered in late May 2026, under the theme Securing New Zealand's Future. Among the housing measures announced, the government confirmed that the maximum weekly rates of the accommodation supplement will increase by between $10 and $30 per week across all 4 geographic areas of New Zealand. That increase is scheduled to take effect from the 1st of April to 2027. Now, I want to be very clear about that date because this is already causing confusion online. The changes announced in Budget 2026 do not affect your current payments. If you are receiving the accommodation supplement right now, your rates did go up on the 1st of April 2026 as part of the standard annual general adjustment that happens every year. But the Budget 2026 increase, the additional $10 to $30 per week, that does not come through until the 1st of April 2027. I will come back to this point when we cover the misinformation circulating on social media, because there are already claims out there that need to be corrected. The announcement was made jointly by Housing Minister Chris Bishop and Social Development Minister Louise Upston. The official fact sheet was published by the Ministry of Social Development and is available on msd.gov.t.nz. The detail behind the numbers is confirmed government policy, and I'm going to walk you through it carefully so you understand what is actually happening here. In just a moment, I'm going to explain exactly what the accommodation supplement is, how it is calculated, and who qualifies, because the eligibility rules are more nuanced than most people realize, and there are thousands of New Zealanders who may be entitled to this support and have never applied for it. Let's start with the basics. The accommodation supplement is a government payment administered by Work and Income New Zealand and the Ministry of Social Development. It is designed to help low to middle income New Zealanders with the cost of private accommodation, whether that means rent, board, or even mortgage repayments on the home you own. It is not just for people on main benefits. Working people, NZ Super recipients, and even individuals who are not on any main benefit at all can qualify, provided their income and cash assets fall below the MSD limits. That last point is one that a huge number of New Zealanders do not know. The accommodation supplement is one of the most underclaimed entitlements in this country, precisely because many people assume you have to be on a benefit to get it. That is not the case. If you are retired and receiving NZ Super, and you are paying rent or a mortgage and your income and assets are within the qualifying limits, you could be eligible. If you are working but on a modest income and your housing costs are significant, you could be eligible. This is support available to a much wider group of New Zealanders than most people realize. Now, the accommodation supplement is divided into 4 geographic areas across New Zealand. Area 1 includes the high-cost cities and regions, places like Auckland, Wellington, and Queenstown. Area 4 covers lower-cost, rural, and provincial areas. The maximum weekly rate you can receive depends on which area you live in and your household situation. Here are the current maximum weekly rates that have been in place since the 1st of April 2026. For a single person with no children, the maximum is $165 per week in Area 1, $105 in Area 2, $80 in Area 3, and $70 in Area 4. For a couple without children or a sole parent with one child, the maximum is $235 in Area 1, $155 in Area 2, $105 in Area 3, and $80 in Area 4. For couples with children or sole parents with two or more children, the maximum is $305 in Area 1, $220 in Area 2, $160 in Area 3, and $120 in Area 4. Keep these figures in mind because from the 1st of April to 2027, these maximums are going up across every single area by between $10 and $30 per week. The government has not yet published the exact revised figures for each category and area. Those specific tables are expected to be released by WINZ closer to April 2027. What has been confirmed is the range, a minimum of $10 per week increase and a maximum of $30 per week increase, depending on your area. Stay with me because I want to explain exactly how the accommodation supplement is actually calculated, because understanding this is essential to knowing whether the Budget 2026 increase will directly benefit your situation or not. The accommodation supplement is not simply paid at the maximum rate to everyone who qualifies. There is a formula. The calculation works like this. You take your actual weekly accommodation cost, your rent, board, or mortgage payment, and you subtract what is called an entry threshold. The entry threshold is the minimum weekly accommodation cost you must be paying before any accommodation supplement can be paid at all. Once you are over that threshold, WINZ pays 75% of the amount you pay above the threshold, up to the maximum rate for your area and household type. So, let's make that real. For an NZ Super recipient who is single and living alone, the current entry threshold for rent or board is $139 per week. If you are paying rent of $300 per week, you subtract $139, which leaves $161. You then take 75% of that, which gives you $120.75 per week. Because that is below the current maximum of $165 per week for a single person in Area 1, you would receive the $120.75. Now here is where the Budget 2026 increase becomes directly relevant. If your accommodation supplement is already being paid at the maximum rate for your area, meaning your accommodation costs are high enough that the formula pushes you to the cap, then when the maximum rate goes up in April 2027, your payment goes up too. That is where the $10 to $30 per week increase flows through. But if your accommodation supplement is currently below the maximum because your accommodation costs are moderate, then increasing the maximum cap does not automatically increase your payment. Your payment is determined by your actual costs in the formula, not simply by the maximum rate. I want to make sure that is very clear because this is probably the single most important detail in this entire update. Take a moment to consider your own situation. If you are currently receiving the accommodation supplement and you are at or near the maximum rate for your area, you are likely to benefit directly from the April 2027 increase. If you are well below the maximum because your accommodation costs are lower, the increase in the cap may not change your payment at all. I will come back to what you should check and do towards the end of this video. Now let's talk about who is responsible for this policy and where the funding is coming from, because this is important context that some media coverage has glossed over, and there are claims circulating online that I want to address directly. The Budget 2026 Accommodation Supplement increase is estimated to cost the government approximately $374 million over the forecast period. The breakdown is around $28 million in 2026/27, then roughly $114 million in 2027/28, $113 million in 2028/29, and approximately 119 million per year in outer years. That is a substantial long-term investment in housing assistance for private renters and those with mortgages. But here's the detail that the government has been open about and that I think viewers deserve to understand clearly. This increase is being funded primarily through savings generated from changes to income-related rent in social housing. Social housing tenants, meaning people in Kanga Ora properties and community housing, are having their minimum rent contribution increased from 25% of their income to 30% of their income. That change is being phased in over 12 months from April to 2027, applied at each tenant's annual review or next change of circumstances notification. It is estimated to generate approximately $387.5 million in savings over the forecast period. The government is essentially reinvesting that money into higher accommodation supplement maximum rates for private renters. Now, I know some of you will have strong views about that trade-off. Around 84,000 social housing households are expected to see their rent rise by an average of about $31 per week as a result. The government describes the overall housing package as broadly fiscally neutral, a rebalancing of support rather than a reduction in overall housing assistance. Whether you view this as fair policy depends on your perspective, and that is a legitimate conversation. What I want to make sure of is that you have the accurate facts, not the simplified or misleading version. Keep watching because I'm about to cover some claims that are spreading online about this update, and at least two of them are completely false. Knowing the truth could save you from making decisions based on inaccurate information. Let's go through the misinformation check. I have been monitoring social media and comment sections, and I want to give you the forensic truth on the claims I am seeing. The first claim going around is that the accommodation supplement maximum rates have already gone up as a result of Budget 2026. This is false and misleading. The Budget 2026 increase does not take effect until the 1st of April 2027. What happened on the 1st of April 2026 was the standard annual general adjustment, the routine yearly increase that happens every April to reflect economic changes. That adjustment is completely separate from Budget 2026. If someone is telling you that your current 2026 payments already reflect the Budget 2026 announcement, that is incorrect. The second claim I'm seeing is that everyone on the accommodation supplement will get a boost from Budget 2026. This is only partially true and needs important qualification. As I explained earlier, the increase in the maximum rate only flows through to people who are currently receiving the maximum rate, or who are very close to it. If your accommodation supplement is being paid below the maximum because your housing costs are moderate and the formula keeps your payment well under the cap, raising the cap does not automatically raise your payment. The government's own fact sheet is clear on this. Approximately 111,000 families are expected to gain income from the broader Budget 2026 housing package overall, averaging around $14.91 per week. But that is not a uniform increase for every single AS recipient. The third claim is that the government is cutting social housing to pay for this. This is partially true but needs important context. The government is not reducing the number of social houses. They are increasing the rent contribution required from social housing tenants, and using those savings to fund the accommodation supplement increases. The number of social houses is actually set to increase. Budget 2026 also includes $69 million for the Flexible Housing Fund to support the delivery of between 1,800 and 2,250 new social houses over 3 years. So calling it a cut to social housing is not accurate. The fourth claim is that NZ Super recipients will automatically receive the higher accommodation supplement from April 2027. This is false. The accommodation supplement is a completely separate payment from NZ Super. It does not come automatically. You must apply for it, meet the eligibility criteria, and be approved. If you are on NZ Super and you have never applied for the accommodation supplement, the April 2027 rate increase does not help you unless you are actually receiving it. And even if you are already receiving it, the increase only flows to you if you are at the maximum rate. I cannot stress this enough. Many NZ Super recipients who would qualify for the accommodation supplement have simply never applied. The fifth claim is that the increase is $30 per week for everyone. This is false. The confirmed increase is between $10 and $30 per week. $30 is the maximum end of the range, and it is likely to apply only in the highest cost area. The specific increase for each area and household type has not yet been published. Do not let anyone tell you it's a flat $30 across the board. That is not what the government has confirmed. In just a moment, I am going to talk about what action you might want to consider taking, whether you are already receiving the accommodation supplement or whether you have never applied. But first, let me give you the NZ super rates for context, because this is relevant to understanding the income picture for pensioners. As of the 1st of April 2026, the standard NZ super rates per fortnight after tax at the M-Tax code are as follows. If you are single and living alone, you receive $1,110.30 per fortnight. If you are single and sharing accommodation, you receive $1,024.90 per fortnight. For couples where both partners qualify, each partner receives $854.08 per fortnight, which is $1,708.16 combined. These rates adjusted automatically on the 1st of April 2026, and no action was required by recipients. It is also worth reminding you that NZ Super is adjusted each year based on average wage growth, not just inflation. That is an important distinction. It means NZ Super is designed to keep pace with rising wages in the broader economy over time, not just the cost of living. Main benefits like job seeker support are indexed to the Consumer Price Index. NZ Super has a higher benchmark, and that is by design. Now, the accommodation supplement is non-taxable income. That is an important detail. It does not count as income for tax purposes, and it does not reduce your NZ Super payment. The two can sit side by side. If you qualify for the accommodation supplement and you are receiving NZ Super, you can receive both, and receiving the accommodation supplement does not affect your NZ Super rate. So let's talk about practical action. What should you actually do with this information? First, if you are already receiving the accommodation supplement and you are currently being paid at the maximum weekly rate for your area, the April 2027 increase should flow through to your payment automatically. You do not need to apply again or take specific action to receive the higher maximum rate when it comes into effect. However, you need to make sure you stay eligible. There are a few things that can disrupt your accommodation supplement payments, and I want to make you aware of them. WINZ may periodically send you a form called the Confirming Your Circumstances form. If you receive this form, it is critical that you complete it and return it by the due date. If you do not respond to this form before the deadline, WINZ will stop your accommodation supplement payments. This is one of the most common and preventable reasons that people lose their support. Keep an eye on your mail and any correspondence from WINZ. If your circumstances change, your accommodation costs change, your income changes, your living situation changes, you are required to tell WINZ. Failing to do so can result in overpayments that you may be required to repay. Second, if you are on NZ Super and you have never applied for the accommodation supplement, please take a moment to consider whether you might qualify. If you are paying rent, board, or a mortgage, and your income and cash assets are within the MSD limits, you may be entitled to support you have simply not claimed. The easiest way to check is through the My MSD online portal, or by contacting WINZ directly. There is also an online tool at check.msd.gov.t.nz where you can check what you might be entitled to. For NZ Super recipients, the entry threshold for the accommodation supplement, that minimum weekly accommodation cost you need to be paying before any payment kicks in, is currently $139 per week for rent or board if you are single and living alone, and $214 per week for a couple where both partners receive the pension. For mortgage payments, the thresholds are slightly higher at $167 per week for a single person living alone and $256 per week for a couple. If your weekly housing costs are above those thresholds and you have not applied for the accommodation supplement, that is worth investigating urgently. you may have been missing out on payments you are legally entitled to receive. There is one more important detail I want to cover regarding the accommodation supplement that catches people out. If you are paying board rather than rent, only 62% of your board cost is counted as your accommodation cost for the purposes of calculating the accommodation supplement. So, if you pay $250 a week in board, WINS treats that as if you are paying $155 in accommodation costs for the calculation. Rent and mortgage payments are treated differently and are generally counted at their full amount subject to the rules. This distinction matters if you are deciding how to arrange your housing situation. Also, it is worth noting that the accommodation supplement has both income and cash asset limits. If you have cash assets above the MSD thresholds, which include things like bank savings and investments, but generally not the equity in the home you live in or a car for private use, you may not qualify or your payment may be reduced. The income abatement rules also mean that if your income rises above certain thresholds, your accommodation supplement payment will reduce. These are all factors to discuss with WINS when you check your eligibility. I also want to make sure you are aware of the broader context of the Budget 2026 housing package. The accommodation supplement increase was announced alongside changes to temporary additional support, known as TASE, and the income-related rent changes I mentioned earlier. The government has framed all of this as part of a multi-year program to reform New Zealand's social housing system. The stated goal is to improve equity and better target support to those in private accommodation, while creating better incentives within the social housing system. Whether you believe those goals have been achieved is a separate question. My job is to give you the facts and let you decide what they mean for your situation. One question I have heard from viewers in our community is whether the accommodation supplement increase means that other housing support will be reduced or discontinued. Based on the official announcements, there is no confirmation of reductions to other housing support for private renters. The winter energy payment, the community services card, and other supplementary payments remain in place. The Budget 2026 housing package is specifically focused on the accommodation supplement, maximum rates, and the income-related rent contribution for social housing tenants. Stay with me for just a little longer because I want to leave you with a clear, practical summary of everything we have covered today, and a reminder of the most important action you should consider taking. Let's bring it all together. Budget 2026 has confirmed that accommodation supplement maximum rates will increase by between $10 and $30 per week across all 4 areas of New Zealand. The increase takes effect from the 1st of April 2027, not from this year. The April 2026 rate changes were a separate standard adjustment. The increase will directly benefit approximately 111,000 families across New Zealand. However, it will not benefit everyone receiving the accommodation supplement. If your weekly accommodation costs are moderate and your current AS payment is well below the maximum rate for your area, the increase in the maximum cap may not change your payment. For NZ Super recipients, the accommodation supplement is a separate payment that must be applied for separately. It is not automatic, it is non-taxable, it does not reduce your NZ Super, and it is available to pensioners in the private rental market, those with mortgages, and those paying board, provided you meet the income and asset criteria. The specific revised rates for each area and household type from April 2027 have not yet been published by WINZ. They are expected to be released closer to the April 2027 implementation date. Check the Work and Income website, workandincome.gov.nzd, for updated rate tables when they become available. If you are already receiving the accommodation supplement and you are at the maximum rate, your payment should increase automatically in April 2027. Make sure you respond promptly to any correspondence from WINS, particularly the Confirming Your Circumstances form. If you do not respond by the deadline, your payments can be stopped. If you have never applied for the accommodation supplement and you are paying rent, a mortgage, or board, please check your eligibility. Use the check.msd.gov.nz tool, or contact WINS directly. You may be entitled to support you have never claimed. Finally, be cautious about the claims you see online regarding this update. There is already misinformation circulating that suggests the increases have already taken effect, that everyone will get $30 per week, and that NZ Super recipients will automatically receive the higher rate. None of those claims are accurate. The truth is that the increase is real, it is confirmed, it is coming in April 2027, and it will meaningfully benefit many New Zealanders again. But the details matter, and making sure you understand your specific situation is the most important thing you can do right now. We will continue to monitor this update and cover any new announcements as WINZ publishes the specific revised rate tables and further implementation details. Make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss those updates when they are published. If you found this update helpful, make sure you subscribe to New Zealand Pension Plan. I'm David, and my goal is to help you stay informed about NZ Super, WINZ, MSD, and every important government support update that could affect your finances. Thank you for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next update.